Hey everyone. User Kanda Arunachalam asked a question which comes up often, which is when we talk about impermanence, we talk about that as being useful for handling what he called impurities. But he said, what about the positive emotions? What about when I'm feeling happy? So let's break this down a little bit. So first off, when we talk about impurities, impurities are not about negative emotion. At least that's not how I think about it. I think about it as any kind of attachment, or yeah, attachment's a good word, except that it also includes its opposite, which is either attachment or revulsion or repulsion, to anything. And so with negative emotions, that's a repulsion. It's like I'm experiencing this negative emotion, and while experiencing that, what I'm experiencing is I don't want this. I don't want more of this. That's how I almost, by definition, that's how I define negative emotion. So it feels uncomfortable and I'm trying to push it away. And in the context of thinking about impermanence, our practice on the meditation cushion is about noticing that unpleasantness, about bringing to mind the idea of impermanence, that this too shall pass, and then using that to allow that emotion to move, or emotion or sensation, physical sensation to move through you without needing to push it away. Um, Positive emotions are like the 102 or the advanced level of meditation in my mind for the following reason. Um, when we're experiencing positive emotion, we call them positive emotions because, again, by definition, they feel pleasant or desirable. And that's okay. This practice is not about never experiencing positivity. However, when we're experiencing them, because they are not something we're trying to push away, we're enjoying them. We're totally okay with them being there, and we don't have to think as much about this idea of letting them move through us. Except because everything is impermanent, let's say these things by not by definition, but where our claim is that everything is impermanent. So if everything is impermanent, then even the positive emotions or sensations, and I use the two interchangeably, and I'll explain why later if I haven't done so. So that the claim is that they move through us as well. They move through our body. So if they're going to move through us because they are impermanent, then the moment at which they disappear is often the time when we notice that we're not feeling that anymore. So as a practical example, uh, let's take a practical example from the cushion and let's take one from life. On the cushion, it could be, man, I had an amazing sit today. I sat down and I just felt wonderful. I felt blissful. I figured out meditation. Tomorrow, I come back and sit down and I sit down. And now I'm just feeling pains in my knees and I'm feeling a pain in my back. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what happened? Yesterday was such a beautiful meditation. I had it figured out. I lost it. Today, I lost it. Okay. So that's the moment at which the pleasantness has moved through. And now I'm experiencing either a lack of pleasantness or an explicit unpleasantness. The example I gave was an explicit unpleasantness, but it could also just be nothing. It could be a neutral feeling, but I'm still thinking, yesterday was so good and blissful. Okay, so that's the on the cushion example. The off the cushion example is today I'm with my friends, or yesterday I was with my friends. I was having a great time. I was just feeling this connectedness and this togetherness with them. What an amazing time. And today they all left and now here I am by myself and nothing's wrong, but man, I'm sad because I'm not with my friends anymore and I'm missing them and I'm feeling uh this emptiness because I'm not with them anymore. Okay? So two examples where I feel a positive emotion, and because impermanence is not a theory or well, the claim is that impermanence is not a theory or a belief system. The claim is that is the nature of the world. So if that's the nature of the world, the pleasantness comes, we experience it, it leaves. It's only when it leaves and then we feel sad or we feel a longing for what was but no longer is, that we can recognize that we were clinging to that positive emotion. So it's the advanced version of meditation in my mind, because when it's negative, when we're experiencing a negative emotion, we get immediate feedback. We feel the negative emotion, we can notice that we're pushing this thing away, and we know that in that moment we don't have equanimity with that negative experience. With the positive experiences, it's hard to tell because we're experiencing it, it feels good. There's no reason for us to complain or wish it away. It's only in the moment when that positive emotion or positive experience disappears that we recognize that if when that happens we feel a loss, that's the moment when we recognize, yesterday I was clinging to that positive emotion, and because of that clinging, and now because this emotion or this sensation has disappeared, that's now I can recognize with a delay that it was in that moment that I was clinging. Okay, um, so impermanence applies to both positive and negative emotions. When we talk about impurities, or we talk about what it is that we're trying to decondition from ourselves, it's not the emotions or the sensations themselves. It's not like we're trying to get rid of unpleasantness in our body, in our emotions. It's not like we are trying to get rid of or try to fill ourselves with positivity or pleasantness. The the impurities are specifically the clinging or the attachment. And I wish I had a better word for this, but either the attachment to something positive or the pushing away of something negative. That act of not being able to just accept that this is something that's happening temporarily, that is the impurity. And so that's specifically the piece that we are uh, trying to move beyond in our meditation practice. And the way we do that is, when it's about negative emotions, we sit with the negative emotions, we sit with the negative sensations, we experience them, and then we allow them to pass. When it's about the positive, we sit with the positive. If we are able to catch ourselves sticking to the positive, that's great. If not, the moment that disappears and we notice that we are feeling a loss, that's the moment when we recognize that we were attached to those. And now we've built up this stickiness or this attachment to that positive emotion. So, hope that's helpful. Happy to answer more questions if you have them. Thanks.